number of us are used to seeing men on boards of several companies, especially in Africa. Now, this is changing. According to the global fintech think tank, about 15% of all board members in Africa are actually women. What do you think about this development, Shamim?
That's a very exciting opportunity for us because now boards are not only charged to give you shareholder value in terms of revenue, but they're also responsible for ensuring that they create the culture that is important to drive the business ahead, but also how to increase employee well-being.
I hear you, and I think we'll be discussing that a little more in some of our subsequent shows. It is again Money and Markets. Welcome to the show. An area where we're still struggling as a country is in the space of exports. We're still running a trade deficit, partly because we're importing a lot more than we export. Now, we have an authority tasked with ensuring that that picture changes. And today, we're picking the minds of the principals there to find out what is being done to repaint this image. You're most welcome to the show, Man and Market.
Thank you, sir.
For starters, give us an idea of what Uganda Free Zones Authority does.
Uganda Free Zones Authority is a semi-autonomous government agency set up for the purpose of creating opportunities for export-oriented investment, and by doing that, we also create jobs.
Now, I want you to specifically speak to the local business people or the Ugandan business people. I know as a country, we've got a number of opportunities. We had AGOA. Today, we're talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. What can they do to take advantage of these initiatives? And what role would you play as an authority to help Ugandans see this?
The company must be registered for the purpose of exporting products out of Uganda and onto the global market. So the requirement is that you should be able to export 80% and more of what you produce. We are looking at the jobs that you're going to create. We are also looking at the environment. We do not want investments that are going to destroy the environment. However, those are the overarching three issues, but there are other issues that we also look at. We are looking at technology transfers. When you set up this company and you're going to be exporting out of Uganda and we are going to give you all these incentives, how do we benefit as a country in terms of skills and technology transfer? We are also looking at value addition to locally available raw materials.
There's a feeling among a number of Ugandan business people that most of these institutions and opportunities tend to come for foreign investors. Now, what kind of comfort would you want to give the domestic investors that actually you have their back?
It is not true that actually the government of Uganda or even Uganda Free Zones Authority in particular tends to focus more on foreign direct investment. No, we treat all investors equally, although our inclination is more to encourage the domestic investors, because when you do that, then the dividends, the profits remain here, and ultimately that forms part of the capital accumulation of the country and their investments, and then the economy becomes vibrant and grows.
Now, moving on to achievements, what are some of the areas where you point and say, well, here we've done justice, some boxes have been ticked?
Currently, we have 27 licensed free zones in the country. That's both developers and operators. We have also been able to create jobs, over 8,369 jobs. We've been able to generate total investment of nearly $1 billion. We've been also able to contribute to Uganda's exports. And actually the key major result area for us is exports.
Let's talk about support. Now, in terms of support, what kind of support would you need? Aware of the fact that you are a very important institution for this country, especially in the pursuit of the import substitution strategy, which the country is trying to pursue, but then also in helping to reduce the balance of trade deficit, which we are grappling with as an economy?
There are a few major areas where, as a government, we have to look. And one of those is to ensure that we create expansive, durable industrial infrastructure to international standards to enable our integration into the global value chain so that we can have economic diversification and value chain integration into the global economy. Ugandans need to learn that industrialization and machines are much more profitable than any other investment that you can think about. Look at all these raw materials we have in this country. We are an agricultural country and we produce a lot of agricultural products. We need these machines to be able to transform these products into a semi-finished or finished products.
Let's talk about the Ugandan business community, the investors here, especially small and medium enterprises. What kind of advice can you give them to take advantage of some of the market access opportunities that the country has worked on? Of course, we'll talk about AGOA, and now we're talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
I think as a country and as business people, we need to transit from this concept of market access. We now need to be talking about market presence. Having access to a market and not being present in that market does not effectively contribute to the objective, to realizing the objective. And market presence is all about meeting the standards of the destination market, being able to sustain the volumes, as well as being able to respond to those markets, because sometimes demand goes up, sometimes goes down, but you should be able to sustain that. So we are encouraging the small and micro enterprises to produce, feed into the free zones for onward transmission to the global market.
A few days ago, we witnessed a reopening of the Rwanda-Uganda border, at least for business. Today, we try to understand what that means for the business community in Uganda.
After 3 years of closure, Rwanda opened its border with Uganda, marking what both trade and private sector considers a good boost for commerce for both countries.
Is a very, very good reinstatement of border access, because we had a lot of economic activity between Uganda and Rwanda, and it was not only in goods but also services.
Opening is fantastic news for us as a country, for them as a country, but also for East Africa as a region. And we hope that once the political issues and diplomatic issues have been ironed out, then full business should be able to resume. And that's good news for all of us.
In the last 2 decades, Uganda's annual exports to Rwanda rose gradually to above $200 million, but suddenly plunged sharply after the border closure in 2019. In 2020, at the peak of the hostilities during the closure, Uganda's exports to Rwanda were under $2 million. The closure affected Uganda and neighboring countries beyond the Rwandese market laws. It had choked off commerce on a major regional transport artery that funnels goods from the Indian Ocean seaport of Mombasa in Kenya through Uganda to Rwanda, Burundi, and the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo.
The city of Gisenyi is directly linked to the city of Goma. So not necessarily everything that left Uganda went fully into Rwanda, but some of the traders in Rwanda would get stuff from Uganda and then re-export it to other countries like Burundi, Tanzania, and the DRC, which are immediate neighbors.
The two countries are land-linked and landlocked. There will be better opportunities for our economy. Now, in terms of the overall opening, it's going to be very easy to see the numbers rise, because we are now monitoring all the trade between Uganda and all the rest of the world.
Both Ugandan farmers and manufacturers were cashing in from the Rwandese market, while Rwanda significantly depended on Uganda for both agriculture and an assortment of processed goods and services.
Rwanda is heavily consumptive, so a lot of our goods would find their way into Rwanda at different levels. So most of our industries have been exporting iron and steel, cement, foods and beverages, value addition materials, but we also have services, professional services, accountants, people who have in very, very rare fields like doctors.
But as the border reopens, it coincides with Uganda's commitment to retouch its entire export subsector, this time looking at more attributes beyond volumes.
Have to make most of our goods and services within those sectors market ready. By market ready, I mean in terms of quality on the value chain, right from what is being produced in the garden, how it is being packaged, branded, how it is being marketed and processed, everything to do with processing.
Going forward, Uganda is today looking at leveraging its agriculture subsector to reduce its trade deficit, partly worsened by the regional turbulence such as the South Sudan conflict and Rwanda's border closure. It's now retouching its regional market presence and further afield.
Got many more trade agreements between other African countries under, again, East Africa, COMESA, and Africa. But also now we are trying to engage UK since they left the Brexit. You know that our exports to the United Kingdom have been reducing over the last 5 years. But now we want to boost that line of trade by entering into agreements with the United Kingdom. And we want to be their food basket.
We now take a very short commercial break. Money and Markets continues.